Hey everyone, it's me, Christine, the host and creator of Flourish, the podcast that elevates and affirms the voices and stories of Black women living and thriving abroad. But here I am, not behind a mic, but in front of all of you on Instagram. I decided to go live today because I haven't gone live yet this week. I am going live on Sunday with Kelly, and her episode, you'll remember, is all about being an expat and a repat. And she actually works and has a career in social work. She went to England, to Oxford, England to be specific, and to outside of Venice in Italy to work abroad as well. So we're going to talk to her on Sunday, talk about how to take your social work career abroad, but also we're going to talk about burnout, which is really, really important, especially as Black people, as Black women, as people in general. We're going to talk about burnout and how living abroad has helped a lot of people deal with burnout, me included, for sure. So we're going to talk about that on Sunday. We're also going to talk about her steps on how to maintain mental wellness while you're abroad. So it's going to be a really great conversation. So be sure to tune in to this IG live on Sunday. I'm trying to think about what time it is, and I'm like, what time is that? I believe it's 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I have a promo that's going to come out tomorrow, and then that'll have the definite day and time, or the time for sure. So definitely check that out. Thanks so much for joining me. Definitely put in the comments below where are you joining me from. If you're abroad, or if you're not abroad, where you want to go and things like that. I'm actually going to talk about transformation, the transformational process and the transformational power of living abroad today. I got inspired to talk about it, so I'm going to talk about it. That's what this chat is going to be about. Okay? So if that's cool with you, you let me know. So I want to talk about the transformational power of living abroad because I think it is something that is not talked about enough, right? I think that the transformational power, is actually really kind of, I don't know, I think it's put to like the back burner. I think people just kind of jump from, I live here, I live there, everything is great, amazing. And it's like, no, there's a whole process. And I think it's really important to expect and also be really intentional and conscious and present about this process, because I think this transformational process makes wherever you land an amazing place for you to be. I think it also helps you to intentionally cultivate a life well lived. That's my biggest thing. So shout out to everyone. Beck1795, you're in Madrid. Hey, I'm in Spain. I'm in Malaga right now. Adrian is rich. I'm going to Mexico. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit. Let's start from the very beginning. Why was it a transformational process for me living abroad? And hey, Beck, you're in Madrid. You can tell me if moving to Spain was a transformational process for you or really changed your life in a way. Please let me know for sure. But I think the biggest reason why moving abroad has been so just transformational for me is because it allowed me to step off of the societal timeline that was expected of me. There was a lot of pressure to have certain achievements and certain lifestyle or just certain things at a certain age that I didn't really subscribe to. And I knew that I wasn't going to subscribe to as well. Hey, Krishan, how are you? That's Blacks at Global. But in that was really transformational for me. Being able to go to a place in which I, as a foreigner, was not expected to assimilate necessarily to a societal timeline. I just wasn't, or this societal timeline was very different. So I'm from Atlanta. where still to this day, getting married right after grad or right after undergrad is like really normal. So getting married at like 21, 22 is like, yeah. And then like waiting until after grad school. So when you're like 25, 26, it's like, all right, you're pushing it, but okay, we'll allow it. And for me, I knew that not only I wasn't interested in getting married at that time, I was seeking adventure. I was seeking just a different way to express my life and to live life. And because I've been very fortunate to have a family that has moved and lived abroad and traveled abroad. I didn't have any kind of baggage like that. And I had studied abroad. I knew that there was a different way to live life. And I knew that how I was marching down the path. Like it wasn't for me. And by going abroad, it really created time and space for me to think and for me to do what was right for me. So I moved from the South of the United States to Spain, in which people are not getting married. Like that's just like people are not really getting married, and people aren't having kids until like they're in their late 30s. And so I'm not in a society where people are like, but you're really cool, but where's your husband? Or like, you've been doing all these really interesting things. Why don't you have children? For me, it is amazing. It's just been an amazing breath of fresh air to just be able to live my life. You know, I tell people this story like all the time. In 2014, I walked the Camino de Santiago. I went from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port to the French Pyrenees all the way to the Atlantic coast of Spain. And it took about 30 something days. And I did not prepare for it. It was very much like I was walking on divine assignment, and I just did it. And it was life affirming, and it really did change my life. It's how I decided to move to Spain. But when I came home from that walk, and it was like one of my best friend's husband's birthday party. She was like, "You've been away, please come to this." And I went. And the very first thing people asked me was, "Oh my gosh, you did the Camino. Are there any hot guys in Spain?" And I was just like, bruh, like I just did this amazing, incredible thing. And you're just caught up in this, like, do you got a man? I'm like, no. And the fact that I don't have a man is like really troublesome for you. And it's like crazy. And that might sound like silly to some of you, but honestly, being in a society in which people aren't like on my neck about my personal business is transformative and has been transformative for me. It's been amazing to not have any kind of expectation in that kind of way. I'm going to continue, but I also want to answer some of these or say some of these comments. Let us see. Yes. Oh, I'm happy you're doing well. Hey. Live by design, not by default. That's the thing. That's the transformational power of living abroad, because it also makes you radically awake to the differences. Now, I could be, fed up with my societal timeline in the States, but it's quite familiar, and to an extent, because of it's familiar, it's comfortable. So it's easy for me to just walk down this path. There's not a lot of resistance. People are supporting me in like conforming in this way. But I had to take that step out. I had to be uncomfortable and unsure and like feel crazy to then be able to live my life intentionally. And because now I'm awake and I'm present and like all of your spidey senses are up because you're like, I'm in a different place. Everything is strange. And how do I feel about it? And now you're asking yourself questions that you never asked before, and you're making conscious decisions for your life. And I always tell people it starts small and it goes big. It goes from what you decide to have for breakfast. And that sounds ridiculous, but people have different breakfasts all around the world. Some people have a pint of beer for breakfast, and you might be like, what? And you might try it, and you might be like, I'm down. Or you might be like, no. But it's part of that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's part of deciding, right? It's part of deciding. Beck 1795, who's in Madrid, says, yes, it changed my life, but for me, it was about having healthcare, private and public, and found my partner here. Also, I'm from Indiana. It was nice to be out of that area. Yes. So this is also part of transformation, right? Having access to affordable healthcare, like here in Spain, both public and private. Private healthcare here is just affordable. I'm sorry, like it just is. I've had private healthcare for 3 years and I've had all different types of companies and it's been affordable. Don't have any copay. I get seen. The only issue I have about getting seen is if I'm trying to get seen like July, August, because nobody works in August and people might be on vacation. But that's like the only issue, right? It's like, people may not be in the office. And obviously that's only for like routine checkups. If it's an emergency, people are here. That's been my only thing, really. And that transforms your life. Being able to access healthcare and not have to be like, no, I can push through. Actually being able to take care of yourself transforms how you live your life, for sure. Finding your partner obviously transforms your life. And getting out of Indiana, which I actually had a guest on the podcast, Jessie, who is an amazing fine artist living in Strasbourg, who is from Indiana. She's from what part of Indiana? Around a university. I can't remember what university it is. And she was just like, leaving Indiana was like the best thing, obviously, for her. And living abroad changed how she saw herself and so many different things. So that is also obviously transformational. Hey, everyone who's stopping by, let me know where you're tuning in from. And also, if you are abroad or if you have been abroad, let me know how living abroad has transformed your life. That's what we're talking about today. How living abroad has transformed your life. So I just talked about how, on one hand, living abroad has allowed me to step off the societal timeline, which has been fantastic. But in another way, professionally, living abroad has really transformed me. Because I am a type A Capricorn, went to law school type person. And I have worked hard and hustled and totally bought into grind culture. So much so that it really burned me out and left me highly anxious and depressed. And then instead of thinking, maybe this is not good for me, thinking like, oh, there's just something wrong with me, why I can't maintain this kind of craziness, right? There's nothing wrong with me. Not that I'm depressed and anxious, but like I should be able to work in this capacity. Living abroad has allowed me to work in a manner in which is way more sustainable for me. One, I have my own business. Now, I had my own business before, but this is a business now that is sustainable and is thriving. And it is sustainable and is thriving because, one, I really feel like even though I still work hard and make things happen, I'm not in I don't have peer pressure to like grind. I just don't. I always tell people living in Spain is like amazing, positive peer pressure where everyone's always like, why are you working so hard? And you could do that tomorrow and you should relax. And what do you mean you're not going on vacation or you're not going on Puente or something like that? For me, it's an amazing amount of societal pressure to enjoy life, to enjoy friendships, family, to be present, and not always to have everything scheduled. Like, you don't need to have everything scheduled every single moment of the time of your life. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So it's really been transformative for me in that way. But also, I think that it's been such an advantage professionally as well. So for some of you who have heard my story on my podcast, Flourish in my episode, or the episode which was called How to Get a Job Abroad, I talk about it there. So my ambition, my American ambition has taken me really far here in Spain. For the first point is before I even landed in Spain, I had professional contacts because I'm used to networking. I'm used to being like, hey, what's going on? And so before I even landed in Spain in 2017, I already had professional contacts. I landed in Spain August 2017. By September 2017, I had a phone interview with an intellectual property firm based in Madrid. Now, I came here to do a sabbatical and work and do the auxiliar program for 9 months, which I did in La Rioja. But before I even started the sabbatical, I had a phone interview with an IP firm, which had it gone better, turned into like a highly skilled work visa, right? So that is something that I attribute, like that has been how I've been able to leverage my skill set and my talents. I'm a go-getter, and that's just how I work. And being a go-getter in Spain is like compounded. It's like times 100 because people aren't operating like this. And it's not even just like this local Spanish population. I would even say it's like the European vibe really isn't about that. And so I find myself really just being put in places and having opportunities because I'm just ambitious enough to put myself out there and be like, hey, how about me? So there's that. That's also how I networked into getting from my auxiliary position, getting a freelance writing gig, which then I got promoted into a full-time position to work remotely. Just ambition and networking, and not even like aggressive, just being myself, just being who I am and doing what I do, which then has manifested in this past summer getting offered a job in Barcelona with I guess it's a multinational kind of boutique advertising firm in the middle of a pandemic, right? So in July, Spain was just like starting to take down the restrictions, and I get offered a job in July, right? How does that happen in Spain, which doesn't have a strong economy? In the middle of a pandemic, and when everything's supposed to be bad because 2020 is horrible and all these things, is because I leverage my talents and my expertise. That's just how I feel about it. Like, I am me no matter where I am in the world, but I've put myself in a position by living in Spain where my talents and my expertise just shine through. They just shine, and nobody's really operating the way that I am. You know, for that particular position, I think I've told this story before, so if you've heard it, sorry. I applied late for that position because they shut down the application process because I got too many applicants. And so I did what I did in Atlanta. If I needed to talk to someone or I wanted an opportunity, I rolled up on them. Like, I just went to their headquarters, you know, I took like the city bike and I like parked it and I went and I buzzed and I said, you know, the biggest thing is like they won't let me in the building. So there's that. That could be egg on my face. They'd be like, who are you? No, leave, we're calling security. Like, that could have happened. Or, you know, what really did happen, which is they let me into the building. And then they were like, who are you? But I came prepared. I had a thank you card because I'm Southern. Hello? And nobody does that in Spain. And I would say maybe in Europe, maybe in Britain. I don't know. But like, they don't do that. So the fact that I came bearing gifts, they were like, what? What is this? They're like, who are you? So they called the director because the CEO wasn't there. And she was like, oh my good, thank you card? And I don't know where she's from. Maybe she's from Germany or maybe Scandinavia. I don't know. And she was like, well, let's talk about this position. So listen to me, people. I'm late to applying for this position. They shut it down. I had to find a random email address to send my resume to. I basically jumped the queue by rolling up on them with a thank you card and a smile. And I get to interview before everyone else, before they read anyone else's resume. I interview first, okay? And then she says, oh, do you have your resume? Which I didn't have. Don't be like me, come with your resume. But I email it to her personally. And then I get interviewed by the CEO. And then obviously COVID happened, everything shut down. It was sad. It was like, I don't know. And then I'm the one that got offered. Me. So what I'm saying is that it's transformative. Like, yeah, I would do probably the same thing in Atlanta, but so would like everyone else, because it's a different kind of vibe. We're all hustling. We're all making it happen. It's a different kind of culture, right? And everybody especially in the South, probably people send thank you cards. That's like, I don't know if maybe people don't do that in other parts of the country, but we send thank you cards. And they're very effective. So hold on for 1 second. Let me turn on the light because the sun is setting. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Yes. Let there be light. So let me pause and let me know if you've had a similar story, or if something has, or tell me how has leveraging your talents, your expertise abroad helped you. Let me know, because I think it's really important for us to all share this kind of thing, right? I think a lot of times people feel like it's really abstract, like, okay, you did it, but can I do it? And I need to have like special expertise, or I need to be someone different. And it's like, no, you could just go somewhere where you shine and people appreciate you. And they give you more holidays to win and stuff like that. So let me know. Let us see. Hey, Beck says, yeah, changed my life on how to live my life because it's also super conservative and religious. Yeah, I've heard that about Indiana. It's cool if you like that, but I wanted more in life. Black to Global says, yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes, exactly. And Beck says I think it's a Southern thing. The thank you card, I think it is a Southern thing, but it works. It's amazing. Now, I got the offer, which is cool, but I didn't take it because something about Spain, so the compensation is just not where it needs to be. And to be honest, I really felt like this company was lowballing me as well, because it was a very boutique firm that had like really well-known clients. So I was like, don't do that. So it was a little interesting learning experience for me, but it was like, okay, I could get it. I knew I could do it, and I knew I could leverage my skills, which kind of leads to another aspect of the transformation of living abroad. Living abroad allows you to have a global network. And now that we're all have experienced COVID and the world has really shrunk, I really want us to take advantage of that. And I really want us all to have more of a global mindset, because that is so key, right? To meet and know people all around the world. Like through Flourish in the Foreign, I have met more than 50 women, Black women who live and are doing incredible things all over the world. And now my network has just exploded and opportunities have exploded. It's transformational. But that I would have had to live abroad, I think, for me, to have even thought that I could talk to these women, relate to these women, and see that, these women are just an incredible resource and that we have so many opportunities to collaborate. It's been fantastic. So I want people to think about living abroad really as an intentional act. And if you think of it as an intentional act, then I think the transformation really is going to be not only powerful, but it's going to lead you to whatever vision you're holding for yourself in your life. And that's why I always tell people, before you decide, okay, I want to go abroad, it's important to journal. It's important to be like, what is working in my life currently and what's not working? What are the things that are not working that are like me, and what things are environmental? Because it's important to take responsibility and accountability for yourself, to know like, okay, if this is just a me thing, if I move to Rwanda, this could probably still be a me thing. Like this could still be an issue. And it's important to take a really good assessment of who you are and what you're about, and also have a clear vision that you write out for your life in all aspects of your life: financial, professional, mental health, physical health, emotional, relationships, all these things. It's important to write them out so that you're clear. And so that when you're looking for an opportunity, when you're looking for a country or region, you actually have real deal things to look for, not just vibes. Like, I go on vibes too, but like research, like research as well, I would say. Vibes are great, but I think it's really important for long-term sustainability, what keeps you abroad and what makes you thrive abroad is having that vision and having aspects of this culture, of this new place, these opportunities that are in alignment with your vision. I don't just think vibes. I just don't. I'm just going to put it out there. Vibes are cool, but I think, for a lot of us, getting abroad is not the issue. Let's just be real, especially if you're coming from a country that has a quote unquote strong passport. Getting abroad is not really the issue. Staying abroad is what it is, making sure that you have opportunities that can sustain you in the way that you want to be sustained abroad, but thriving abroad, because it makes no sense to move from one place to another and just be enduring. Like, no. Enduring because it's cheaper? Enduring because it's in Europe? Like, enduring because it's on the continent of Africa? That makes no sense. It makes no sense. But to get from enduring to thriving, you need to understand who you are. You need to understand what talents you have that you can flip and you can make work for yourself. Because sometimes, opportunities aren't going to be one-to-one, meaning whatever you do in the States or wherever may not translate exactly to where you want to go, because industry is different. Markets are different. What people are wanting is different. What people value is different. But understanding that you are valuable, understanding that you have something to contribute, and being able to assess a situation and be like, okay, this is what you guys are talking about. This is what you need. I can flip it and I can be resourceful and I can be whatever you need me to be, or I could provide some kind of value in a way. That, I think, helps you to create a life that is thriving. Let me know. Does that vibe with you guys? What do you guys think? You got some questions for me? You got some comments? Let's make this interactive, okay? So if you're new to this IG that I just threw up here, because I just thought, hey, let's go live. Let me know where you are listening from, where you want to go, any questions that you have on the transformative power of living abroad, or anything, or the podcast. If you guys are listeners to the podcast, you know that I just put out a new episode this Monday featuring Frances, who's also a podcaster. She has 2 podcasts. One, the critically acclaimed Chronicles Abroad. Yes, she is one half of that podcast, and a third of the Therapist Are People Too podcast, which I think is super interesting. And she shares her perspective of being a single mom and a really young empty nester and deciding, like, what am I going to do with my life now? I've raised this kid and it's now just me. And what do I want to do? And that's what the episode is about. She talks about living in Thailand and then Japan, and then being like, I don't know about Japan, and then going back to Thailand. And now she's in Mexico, and she just gave such a good interview. Really, really. If you haven't listened to it, please do listen to it. She actually also mentioned something, because we chatted and we recorded in, I think it was June or July. It was right after the George Floyd incident happened in the States, and we talked about it, And I had talked to her about something that a lot of us had talked about before, expats, where people think because you live outside your home country, you don't care about things no more, like things don't affect you anymore. And that's not true. And she actually touches on something that I think she calls traveler's guilt, kind of survivor's guilt. The guilt that sometimes you have when you choose to leave a country or a situation that's no longer working for you, but you still have family or you still have connection to that place. And it's the grievances, the wrongs, the atrocities still affect you. And so it's a weird feeling of both feeling like, I'm glad I'm not there, but still feeling very guilty that you're not there to either protest or be there or just be in that moment. So we actually talked about that, which also led into a conversation about mental health while you're abroad. And she got really real. And she talked about things that I don't think a lot of people talk about, which is loneliness of being abroad. Because it can get lonely, for sure. Yesterday was Thanksgiving in the United States, in only the United States. Nowhere else is celebrating Thanksgiving. You know, most years I'm working through Thanksgiving. This year has actually been particularly interesting for me because I am spending the winter in Malaga in Andalusia. And usually I'm in Barcelona. That's where all the people I know, that's not true, but a lot of my support network is in Barcelona. But deciding to leave there and try something different and just kind of go my own way and give myself some time and space to like work on some projects and just get out of Barcelona, basically. Being alone on Thanksgiving wasn't like sad, but it was different. I was like, okay, I'm really alone. And also a pandemic. You're like, I mean, could I link up with people? No, it's a pandemic. So that's something that people don't talk about, loneliness and the importance of developing a support network, how to develop a support network, which I think it's easier than people think it is. It's the same thing as people talk about, you know, when you're like a kid, like you got to be a friend to get friends. I think that's how it goes, to have a friend. It's kind of like the same thing. You have to put yourself out there. Like people, it's not like Amazon. You can't Amazon friends. and just because, you know, you're in like a expat group and you know people on Facebook doesn't mean like people are going to necessarily, doesn't mean you're going to have like a friendship connection once you're on the ground. And that's fair. That's not really a reflection on anyone. It's just kind of normal. But you have to put yourself out there. And how you put yourself out there, I think, is key, which is friendship is a reciprocal kind of thing. Like you need to be a friend. You can't just be like, hey, I'm new in town. Take me everywhere. What are your favorite things? Include me in everything without like giving something as well. But creating community, I think, is not as hard as people think it is. But I think the current social climate in which people are, I don't know, maybe have some social anxieties with like sometimes talking to people on the phone or something like that, or meeting people, you kind of have to get over. You gotta be a friend and to build that. And that helps. And it's really crucial for thriving abroad, finding community, building community, having friendships and things like that. All right. No questions. No. Oh, wait, here we go. Yes to collaboration and expansion. Yes. It's so important. Nobody does anything alone. And, yeah, no one does anything alone. And sorry, y'all. Y'all know I don't really know how to do this IG live. Someone's trying to call me. So, but, you know, I don't know what I was saying. Collaboration is key. Collaboration is how you grow from 0 to 100. It's how you get opportunities. That's just how it works. It's how I've gotten basically both of the jobs I first got when I got to Spain was through collaboration, it's through networking and being a resource and being a friend. And that's how people are like, hey, you know what, Christine, do you want this opportunity? Of course. So, but you have to put out that energy, you have to put out that energy. All right. So I'm talking about the transformational power of living abroad. Does anyone else have any questions about living abroad, about Spain, about Flourish in a Foreign podcast, about anything? Let me know. Be quick about it, because if not, I'm going to make some tea and I'm gonna check my email and I'm going to do some work. Okay. So let me know about that. I will say this, because someone actually just DM'd me about this a couple days ago, I think, or maybe it was last week, which was, how do you deal with unsupportive friends or family? So we're just talking about how to develop a network and community while you're abroad. But how do you deal with people who are like not really wanting you to go abroad? They don't understand. They're poo-pooing it, or they're making you have fear. They're like, you're going to die if you go there, right? You're like, what? Yeah. How do you deal with it? I actually think this past episode with Frances, plug, she actually talks about how her coming from an immigrant family, and this is something that a couple of my guests have talked about as well. When you come from an immigrant family, they don't really understand why you're trying to leave the United States. They're like, no, I don't understand why are you leaving? And there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of sacrifice to create a life in a new country, bring the whole family, all these kinds of things. And so they may not understand why you're going abroad, regardless if you have an immigrant family or not. People just don't understand. And it's mostly fear. And I think it's mostly coming from a good place. They don't want you to die. They don't. But I think this is the thing. You can't tell everybody everything. You just can't. You can't tell everybody everything. You have to really understand there are some dreams, there's some visions that are just for you, and that you have to hold them close. Not every dream is for everyone's input. You don't need the validation of everyone. And even people that you may need the okay or sign off at some point, they don't need to know at the very beginning. There's stages to it, right? Some people can be notified when you're on the airplane. There's some people that need to be notified a little bit before that. But I just believe in, if you have this desire on your heart, if this is a vision for yourself, then you can't expect other people to have a vision for you. That's not really for them to do. There's some people that are going to be in your life that will hold a vision for you. And there's some people that will just never see that vision for you. They have a different one for you. And that's fine. But it's really important to understand that there are times to share and there are times not to share. Because I think sometimes we use our family or just outside opinion as a crutch. Like, oh, well, my mom doesn't want me to go, so I can't go. Even when you're 33. So it's like, well, you can go. We use a lot of things, and obviously there's lots of different family dynamics, older parents, lots of different things. I understand that. But I also think that you guys know, and you guys can tell who I'm talking to, if it's resonating with you, that sometimes we use the approval of other people as an excuse for us to not pursue the things we want to pursue. When we don't need their validation, we don't need their understanding, we don't need their support to make a decision for ourselves. And sometimes we fear, disapproval. We fear of falling on our face. And maybe you have a family dynamic that if you fall on your face, they're going to laugh at you or be like, we told you. And that's something else you got to grow through too. You got to grow through that. And so I just believe that if you are in a situation in which you do not have a family or friend support for you to go abroad, know that there are strangers on the internet that are going to champion you. and that are going to help you, they're gonna hold space for you, and they're gonna be resources for you. And that's just how it is. Go to Facebook. I know some people hate Facebook, sorry, but the groups though are usually quite legit. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. Go to those Facebook groups and tap in, search them, see who's where you're trying to be, see which kind of region specific groups they have. It's really, really helpful. And so sometimes the thing is like, maybe you don't need the support from where you were coming from. Maybe you need the support for where you're going. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it don't matter if you don't have the support in, Alabama. But if you have the support in Chiang Mai, then maybe that's all that matters, right? So, all right, y'all, I'm going to leave you with that. Definitely tune in for this Sunday at, I believe, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be going live with Kelly, whose episode about being an expat abroad as a social worker in Italy and in England was really interesting. She also talks about the process of returning home or repatriation, which is tough. It sounds tough, very difficult. But also she's going to talk about burnout and mental health and how to stay mentally healthy while you're abroad and in the process of moving abroad, which I think is really, really important. So tune in for this Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to go live with Kelly. And if you're interested in going abroad as a social worker, a therapist, you'll definitely want to tune in. If you've been dealing with any anxiety, depression, you're wondering how you're going to manage that while you're abroad, you'll want to tune in. If you're thinking maybe you're burnt out, she's a burnout specialist, you're going to want to tune in. If you're interested in moving to England or Italy, you're going to want to tune in. All right, that's it. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you Sunday. All right, bye.